Space, the last great frontier. Are we truly the stewards of that outer world, that outer universe, the vast darkness? Or are we destined to pollute, to destroy, and to pillage what we find in the great expanse of nothingness? Join us tonight as we discuss the ethics of space exploration.
Welcome.
Here we
That was perfect. I wish we had an auto thing that would do all this for us. We need to look into an auto loader. I'm sure there's one, but it's probably run by some fly-by-night.
They have the auto intro thing that Steven uses for his show, but it's only good for one video. So,
but nobody likes Steven. That's the problem.
Sorry.
Sorry. I didn't see that Steven was here in the office. We all love you. No, I'm kidding. We do love you. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of This Uncanny Earth, your favorite Thursday night show. If you're not listening, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's Thursday night. What are you doing? There's nothing to do on a Thursday. Sit your butt down and listen to the show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about space ethics. Is it ethical to travel to space? Is it even ethical to talk to aliens? We're going to let our guy Spider, he's going to talk to us. He's going to tell us all about it. And if you're not watching the show, watch the show. Come on, come on. We're the best at what we do. There's no debate about that. We're the funniest. We're the most handsome. Good playing with us. Watch the show. But Spider, if there's no, there is actually. I have an announcement. I hijacked the Spirits Club. Hijacked.
Again.
Took it over. It's mine now. I took it. Like that person that said I was stealing their radio show. How'd that work out for you, bozo? Anyways. You're going to want to know about the Inglewood Apple Whiskey. Fantastic. I gave it a straight up great review. Great price point. Oh, do I like it or not? I don't know. You're going to have to watch the video.
Tune in next week.
And Spider will be upping that because that's his job. I just take over and then I'm like, well, now it's your job to upload it. So get to work. So if there's no further updates, new affiliates, new information, new anything, we will let Spider go ahead and begin our discussion.
Well, I do just want to point out one quick thing. The QR code that you see up in the corner next to me is not always the same. Last few weeks, it was a support page where you could send us money if you wanted to.
You should send us money. Sorry.
This week, it's our affiliates and sponsors if you check the QR code. So we want to highlight those various people, and I'll rotate out the QR codes every so often, and you might not know exactly what it's going to be every week, so check it out. It's always going to be interesting stuff.
It might be a mysterious location that I'm exploring. Easy.
It'll be a puzzle. It's an ARG. I love it.
Sort of. It's very mild as far as it goes.
Yeah, it's not a real ARG. It's just
one of my many web pages, I think, that talks about us and the various things that we do. But who knows? I might get creative with them. I have
an idea. We can talk about it after show.
You could rickroll someone with it.
You could Rick Ross somebody with it.
That too.
Gross.
Anyway, that's all I have for that. So
moving
into the topic.
Moving out.
I'm going to revisit a couple things that we talked about with Steven from last week. About space exploration. We talked a little bit about the technologies involved in space exploration. I know I mentioned the ion engines that are in the works right now. We talked about time dilation. And one thing that I don't think we talked about is there's talk about fusion engines, like cold fusion and things of that nature, and hydrogen engines and a couple of other things that are meant to push us faster than just plodding through space with what we have right now. Excuse me. And I had a thought about that because a lot of these things won't really be tested in space until we actually take them to space to do the testing. We won't be able to test them here under real space conditions, so we won't know exactly what the effects are going to be once we get there. We can conjecture, we can talk about different things about how uh, certain things aren't going to be polluting or certain things aren't going to be giving off certain kinds of energy, but we won't know until we get there. So, my initial question is it right for us to plow on through with that initial, hey, we've got a new spacefaring technology, let's go out and start using it before we know exactly what the long term effects are going to be? And is there any alternative to that? There's really no other way to test it other than taking it to space and finding out. But is that ethical? Is it right of us to just decide, you know what, space exploration is that important that we're just going to have to deal with the consequences? So, with that initial question in mind, I'm going to ask right off the bat, um, Stephen, what do you think about the technology that we're developing now for space exploration? And do you think that it's ethical to just go ahead and leap right into it, or is there possibly a better way to test it?
Well, I think with all of our other advancements in technology, we could theoretically do simulations to test the long-term effects, but at the end of the day, simulations, no matter how advanced or how much data we use, are still just simulations. And we don't really know. We're just taking an educated guess, essentially. So, on the one hand, I think everyone is going to have their own personal answer to this. But my personal answer is I think in the pursuit of science, it's the only thing we can do if we seek to be scientists and, further our pursuit of knowledge, which I personally always, want to learn more. And in the interest of learning more, I don't think simulations are enough. And I think we would actually have to get out there and, research it and learn it. And, like with, I don't know if YouTube would censor us, but, with certain weapons of, epic proportions, let's call them that, we didn't know anything about the fallout of that until we tested it. And, as dangerous as that was, we never would have gained that knowledge of how dangerous it was without testing it.
I tend to agree that with that sentiment because there comes a point with scientific advancement, if you're not developing something that's specifically meant to be a weapon or that's specifically meant to harm people, you kind of don't have a choice but to see what happens when you push the button and just hope for the best. And the only way to find out is to do that. Rob, same question. How do you feel about that?
I don't even know why you asking me. You already know how I feel. Get out there. Get out there yesterday. I want to know what's out there, man. Like, I want to know. And, you're always going to break a couple eggs when you make an omelet. And so it's going to take time. And if you don't, you can do as many virtual flights into space as you want to do, but there's nothing like the real thing. And we need to start focusing on that. And we really need to push ourselves to the stars because we're at a pivotal moment in our history where we can throw all of the political hoopla, all the left and right nonsense that people spout, and we can start building a galactic civilization because that's what we need to do. We are not a species that is comfortable being sedentary. You can say that about certain groups of people. You can say that about this, that, and the third, but humanity as a whole always seeks answers. And maybe we are blocked from those answers for good reasons. So that's a whole other topic. But as far as everything else goes, man, make it happen. Make it happen. Let the people that died in World War II in those concentration camps, let their sacrifice not go in vain. Because as everybody knows, with Operation Paperclip in World War II, a lot of that was built so that we could go into space. That was built so we can go to space. And those were Nazis that our government procured and basically picked away from being tried as war criminals. So we can't let space exploration go to waste just because the victims of the Holocaust, like, these people died, and they brought these horrible human beings over so they could start exploring space. Well, finish that, finish that,
Yep.
so these people's sacrifices aren't in vain. Because humanity needs a win. We need a win, humanity as a whole. And I'm not talking about getting rid of this government, or doing this with this government, or leaning this way politically, or doing this in this certain fashion. We need a win as a whole. We need a win as a people, because everybody's feeling downtrodden. Everybody's feeling downtrodden in the entire world. It's a very rough time, geopolitically, and humanity needs a win. So yeah, get them ships out there, start cooperating with India and China and Russia and all these countries, and let's get something cracking. Let's get something so it pushes us into space. The more room that we can get away from each other, the better this planet will be. We need to just kick some people off the planet. Go into space. I'm one of those people. Kick me off the planet so I can go into space. Because I personally believe that, we as a people, if we are too confined and around each other, we get on each other's nerves. As a whole, we're gonna, the left gets on the right's nerves, the right gets on the left's nerves. These get on their nerves. My son gets on my nerves. Your daughter probably gets on your nerves. It's very human-like to want to separate yourself for a stint, so that you don't get cabin fever, as it were. And what better way to do that than to push ourselves into a place, into a trajectory that will not only change us as people, but literally change the foundation of who we are. Imagine your great grandchildren get to walk on Mars. All of us, maybe not Steven, but me and Spider, we're going to be decrepit. Our great grandchildren, both of us are going to be decrepit, sipping whiskey on our respective porches, yelling at random things that aren't even people. They're just random things that we're mad about. Like a stick fell from the tree. Hey, get back on that tree branch, But to see us move past what we have considered ourselves to be, and into a realm that maybe our ancestors had paved for us, that's, the ancient astronaut theory is neither here nor there. But I think at the same time, we have to really want to get away from each other, and I think space is perfect for that. Yes. Sign up tomorrow. Sign me up. Maybe go through the physical breakdowns and limitations. Let me surpass those and let me go into space. It'd be dope to go to Mars. They say it's a one-way ticket. Okay. To be a human being that steps foot outside of his own planet. I get excited just going to another state. I couldn't imagine my excitement going to a whole other planet. So make that happen. And there's no ethical issues, in my opinion, in space travel, with the exception of where you get your materials from, how they're mined. Are you destroying a populace? But is that for the greater good? And that is the key question. Is the greater good reliant on misery? Is it reliant on misery?
Revisit that at the end. That's going to be the closer. So don't get too far, but hold that thought.
I'm holding
That's
it.
going to be a big question once we finish up here.
There it is.
We're going to lay the building blocks for it. You lead into a very good question from there. You lead into, because right now, with our limited amount of space interaction that we've had, and people can say, oh, what do you mean limited? We've been to so many places, we've put so many satellites. In the grand scheme of how long we've been around as a species, our space travel has been tiny by comparison. A few decades doesn't amount to a whole lot as far as long term. But in that time, we have filled up our atmosphere, our orbit, with space junk galore. bits of rockets, and a lot of that is designed to fall back down and to burn up, but a lot of it doesn't. A lot of it stays out there. And plus
Yeah.
we have all of the satellites that are constantly. We got the cell satellites. We've got government satellites from multiple countries. We have who knows what kind of possible weapons platforms are already up there. If you want to get conspiratorial about it, because it could be.
Yeah.
You've got the International Space Station, which is supposed to come down at some point in the next few years. I think it's going to be decommissioned, and there was that Chinese one that got decommissioned not too long ago as well, and they did a semi-controlled fall back down to the planet, which also has the side effect of adding to pollutants to the planet as well. So we have that to look forward to. And when you take all that, you also have to wonder, because we already have the attitude of, oh, well, once we get there, we can just kind of leave stuff lying around. It's okay. We'll deal with it later. When we land on other planets, not just with the rovers, which, again, we've had to leave rovers and landers and all kinds of things on other planets after they've just fallen apart. Will that be the prevailing attitude when we get to another planet? Will we just, okay, we've used this technology to get here, now we don't need it, just toss it aside, and let's continue exploring this planet? What impact is that going to have on the environment of planets that we get to? What impact is that going to have on us having to deal with all that junk? Are we going to be able to repurpose it all? Or are we going to just let it sit in new landfills on new planets? And that's another ethical concern. It's also a practical concern, because what do you do with it all? But it's easy for people to just be able to say, oh, well, you know what? Let's just push it aside. If we got a whole planet now, we've got a whole new planet. We don't have to worry about it. Look at all the space we have. But because we know how many people are on our planet already, we know that at this level of our technology and our civilization, if it continues, it doesn't take too long to start filling up a planet. So that's my next question. What potential ethical ramifications are we looking at with everything that we're going to take out into space with us, all the physical bits and pieces? And what should we be doing to try to avert a potential disaster on another planet or in a space lane itself? Because you hit a certain speed flying through space and you hit something while you're going there, and it can do an awful lot of damage, even if you're not going that fast. So, Rob, what do you think? What do you think about the junk question?
So what I think we should do is gather it up. So, like, you see, we've all seen the space shuttle lift off, right? And it goes up, and then the auxiliary rockets, they fall off. Other things fall off, and then it just starts, free roaming. What I think, because that falls to Earth, and then they come and they collect it. What I think we should do, and I don't know the logistics of this. It's just something I just thought off the top of my head. We need to make it to where it just goes towards the sun. Make it to where all the junk, put it on a thruster, make sure that thruster, and just have it shot right toward the sun. This way, it's going to burn up. There's nothing we have that I know of, that we know of, that doesn't burn up, right? There's nothing that we don't have that can't be melted down. And you push that stuff towards the sun and let it burn up. This causes this stops the junk aspect. Now, of course, you're going to have some crazy things happen. Like once we get kind of spacefaring, you might have a rogue asteroid that smacks off of a ship, right? Now you have a derelict ship, but now you got to push that kind of into the sun. The sun is like a big garbage dump. I mean, for lack of better terminology, it's a big waste station. So why not push the waste? Because there's nothing we have that's going to cause a cataclysmic sun event. There's nothing that we have that's going to be like, oh no, we made the sun go supernova. No, because the metals and things like that, the sun already has melted most of those kinds of metals. The radioactiveness isn't even our radioactiveness in actual in our scheme of things, in our scope of things, is nowhere near the sun's radiation. So it's not like we're going to throw something into the sun that's going to have a crazy side effect, because we don't have a technology like a black hole. We can't just throw a black hole in the sun and then, okay, the sun gets ate, right? We don't have anything that we can't throw into the sun that's going to cause any irreparable harm. Because once it gets within so far of the sun, it's not even probably going to touch the sun before it starts melting. And then once it gets close to the sun, it's going to evaporate because of how much heat is emanating off of our star. So if we can find a way to kind of tie all that up in a trash bag, so to speak, and push it into the sun, I think we would be well on our way to cleaning up things. But obviously, but that has to be something that is um, universally recognized. B, anybody caught not doing that has to either be fined or their ability to go into space is revoked until a certain time at which they are deemed ready to be eco-friendly. I'll say that's the best way I can put it for everybody else to understand in our comments. Eco-friendly, because I don't like junk sitting in space. And like you both said, you come around the corner careening into like an object, bow. It's not like a car, because we all see what happens when you hit something with a car, damage. Imagine that, but like times 1,000. You're destroying your ship. It's basically a lot like a boat running into an iceberg, right? It's going to cause maximum damage. There's going to be some serious damage. So we need to clean that up, because we are going to keep trying to go to space. If we don't make it, we're going to keep trying, because we're a very belligerent species. We want to do it, and we're going to do it. And if you don't like it, that's too fucking bad. You better make sure you're out of our way when we do it. But there has to be certain contingencies. There has to be certain ethical, like you said, things in place in order for us to travel in space. And one of those is don't leave your junk laying around, because we would do that as human beings. And then we're going to start, it's going to be an intergalactic kegger, as Men in Black said, because we're going to leave junk in somebody's backyard, and they're going to be like, no, you're getting the junk back, plus this, 800,000 megaton bomb that we're going to drop on your planet. Obviously, that's a lot of science fiction, a lot of conjecture, but it's still, because we don't know what species are out in the universe. We have no idea what species are out there. We don't know if they would take offense to us even just leaving a little thing out in space. That might be a whole interstellar war to them. That might be a signal of invasion. So we have to clean up our mess first, and then we have to do something to where any waste that we have is obliterated, because that's going to be another problem, because the exhaust or the waste that we emit from our ships can signal enemies. It can, cause issues maybe on other planets. This is all things we need to think about before we just jump out. But I think the first thing we need to do is clean up our mess around the planet and send all that into the sun. That's how I would do it. So the long version of that, but that's how I would do it.
Now, before I get to you, Stephen, because I'm going to ask you the same thing in just a minute, I have a couple of examples of entertainment that people can watch to kind of detail similar arguments that we've just talked about. One of them is a Disney movie. It's Wall-E, which is probably one of my favorites. And it deals with, you don't talk too much about the junk out in space itself. You talk more about what's on the planet and how the planet has to recover. But when you get shots of the ship coming to and from the planet and going into space, you can just see the dense, this number of satellites and just junk that's been shuttled off into space. And it is a fictional story, but it's something that is kind of happening right now as far as that goes. You go out and it's getting kind of bumpy just past the atmosphere. It's easy to bump into stuff. That's one of the reasons why they have to plan things so meticulously when they send new stuff up or they send new missions up, because you never know what you might hit. The other one is, and it's in response to what you talked about, how different species might be upset if you just leave your garbage rolling around. In Star Trek Voyager, which is a show I didn't really get too deep into, but I watched a little bit of it. There's a species called the Malon who decided long ago in their history that they were going to get rid of. They got to a level where they had an energy source for their ships and for their society that produced vast amounts of radioactive material, lethal, like deadly material. They decided, well, we're not just going to leave it on the planet. We're going to send it out and get rid of it. So they built special barges that they fly around, and they stuff the stuff into the ships, and they just go to different star systems, and they just drop it off. And it causes problems for people as they find out. And their species, they don't care because they're getting it off their planet. They don't care if it's in your neighborhood or if it's in your backyard. It's out of our hair. We don't got to worry about it. And then they end up having to fight a lot of people because they're leaving radioactive junk floating around in other people's star systems, threatening their ecosystems and things like that. So it's a pretty interesting set of storylines. I just wanted to mention that in case anybody wanted to see some fictional examples. Steven, the question of space junk, what ethically do you think we should be doing about it? And is it really our problem, or is it?
Well, you know me, I'm pretty negative about humanity as general sometimes. And I also saw Wall-E, and I think it was pretty accurate. So I'm going to say I think that we're always going to be messy and leave our junk out in space, even when we start traveling around. And FYI, you guys are kind of laggy on me. Not sure if it's just on my end or not. And that article that I posted over in the side is actually something that I've looked into before, talking about space junk and how it's out there, and it's such a problem because it could literally crash back down to Earth at any given time and like start, hurting us, causing problems and mayhem and havoc. So I think Rob was on the right idea with the, like trying to shoot it into the sun. My only concern is I'm not concerned about the sun going supernova, but I wonder if that would be enough to cause solar flares. I wonder if that would affect us.
I don't think so, only because none of that stuff will ever touch the sun's surface. Because we don't have anything that will withstand the sun as a whole. We don't. I mean, we might, but we don't. That the three of us know sitting here right now on November 6th of 2025, all three of us know that there's nothing that we have right now that the sun cannot destroy, right? Because if the Earth starts moving into the sun, nothing is going to be left. It's not going to be like, okay, my PlayStation controller's still sitting around, or my, my PC's still there. No, that's all melted. That's all gone.
The entire planet is gone.
And I don't think it's enough for it to go supernova. I don't think it's enough to cause solar flares, only because, and I could be wrong, by the time it would even get close enough for that to happen, there's nothing left. We don't have anything that can touch the sun or the surface right now that I know of. Yeah. Once again, let me say that I know of, because I don't want somebody to come like, well, they made a thing in 2029. I know, I don't care. But in all honesty, I've never seen anything that we have that can even get to the surface.
Yeah.
We like to say, hey, this is what the surface of the sun looks like. Has anybody seen it? Has anybody been on it? No, because you can't get close to it. So, and what you would really need to do is you would have to have a space lane to sort of ship that junk through, because planets rotate. Planets have an orbit, and you don't want this space garbage to smack into a planet. I would be more worried about our space garbage if it was in a big enough, like, cohesive mess, smacking a moon on Jupiter, and then next thing you know, because shit goes awry, sorry for the language, things go awry, my fault, and the next thing you know, you have chunks of asteroids coming to Earth. That would be my only concern, but as far wise as the sun doing anything, no. We don't. The sun could destroy the Earth, and it's just going to be another day. Yeah. It's going to be another day like it is. I'm more worried about that space junk being a cohesive unit and flying into, like, one of Jupiter's many moons, because Jupiter is just a single mother trying her best. She's got, hundreds of children. She's trying her best. But I do believe that, that's what I'd be more concerned with. And like Spider said before, smacking into something. What if a rogue piece of junk that you haven't netted up ends up flying off and boom, there you go. There's the space shuttle. And, you'd have to set stuff up for space shuttles where if something gets so close, there's a magnetic field that sort of repulses it away. It's a lot of hypotheticals.
My only rebuttal that I would make to that is that it's based off of our current understanding of the sun and its processes, which I think we're pretty well set on. And I don't want to throw out the idea that, well, we have real no idea the sun can do something else tomorrow. And I mean, it could, but I think we're pretty well studied
I think
on the
too
way the
with
stars work.
yeah, because we have
Um,
enough data from other stars that have done similar things that we know, okay, our sun is doing what that star is doing right now. So there's really no read now, like you said. Could tomorrow the sun go supernova? Yes. But nobody's expecting that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And most
and
people don't care.
you can't really plan for every single unexpected thing that happens. You can do your
No, you
best,
can't. Yes.
but you
Agreed.
can't cover every single base and every single thing. So that's my
Yes.
only
Yeah.
possible rebuttal that I would make for that, which is kind of a weak one, to be honest. But it's just something to throw out there. Um,
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think that's a great point.
the next question is really probably one of the biggest ones. Um, because again, this one is another one that deals with the hypotheticals, but it's a very big hypothetical. It's a very important one. And I want to preface some of this because I'm going to make some statements that I don't want to seem derogatory towards certain pasts of certain countries and things. We as a species in our ages of discovery, in discovering new countries and new land masses, have done some pretty awful things. Granted, we've killed off a lot of native populations and various things of that nature, and I'm not going to discount all of that. But I am going to say, not to excuse it, but to say that if we had not gone to some of these other places, life as you and I know it right now wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't be here with maybe this technology to have these conversations. We wouldn't necessarily be able to do half the things we can do. We might not have all of the medical research that we've been able to do because we've seen how certain viruses impact closed off populations. And again, and not to excuse any of that kind of stuff, but it's one of those fine lines where if we hadn't done these things, then we wouldn't be where we are right now. Um, and I want to keep that in mind as we talk about the next segment here, because the next segment is dealing with the possibility of encountering alien life. And there's many levels to that. A good amount of alien life we might encounter is like unlikely to be sentient. It's likely to be animals. It's likely to be lower forms of life as we would see it. It'd be like space cows and things of this nature. It's not going to be sentient beings like ourselves who are going to see us and start striking up a conversation or instantly decide, oh, those people are obviously here to take our resources. Let's go murder them right now before they land.
Yes.
The chances of that is much lower. So the question is, first, if we go to another planet that we're able to survive on and we encounter life that's basically, again, for lack of a different simile, space cows or something of that nature, what do we do?
Kill it.
Because in the past, what we've done is
Kill
we've
it.
killed off the bison. We've killed off multiple species. We've hunted things to extinction.
M. Bison.
Um, only if it's Tuesday. But
Levels. There's levels to this. There's levels.
but because I think a lot of people are going to assume, oh, it's a whole new planet. Again, we've got all this space. Obviously, there must be so many of these animals. Nothing we do right now is going to make an impact on their population. So let's just harvest these ones. It'll be fine. But you start setting a pattern. You set a pattern that it's okay to do that. without knowing the extent of the population, without knowing their breeding cycle, without knowing how fast they can reproduce, all these different things. So the first part of this that I'm going to ask the two of you is, when we get out there and we encounter that form of life, because I'm certain there's some of it out there, regardless of what form it's going to take, should we leave it alone? Or, like, ethically, should we just not bother with it and let it continue living its life? Or should we look for ways to adapt it to our lifestyles, as beasts of burden, or as pets, or as food sources? Because we will need food sources when we go out there. And I'm not naive enough to assume that we're going to be able to synthesize all of our food just yet. Hopefully in the far future. But what should we do about it? And what do you think is going to happen regardless of what you think we should do about it? Steven.
I think, I understand the need for food for survival. I get that part. And, you got to do what you got to do to survive. But if we're able to synthesize enough food, or we can survive off of plants on that world until we're able to synthesize better food, or we understand the environment better, we should leave the creatures alone for a few different reasons. A, we don't know how killing those creatures would affect the environment around them or us. And B, as you said, it would set a pattern. If we start going to other planets and killing the native species, if there are aliens out there and they see that, they're going to feel threatened, because they're going to be like, hey, every new species these savages see, they immediately kill it. So they're going to see us the same way people used to see barbarians. And, well, that didn't end too well for the barbarians, did it?
Now, I'm going to address the sentient species in a minute. So you do make a good point, but I don't want to get too far into that just yet. But that is another good I don't say idea, but another good point. It's another good point. Don't know why that word didn't fit. Anyway, Rob, same question. What do you think?
Get them an experiment right now. Get all of them, experiment on them tomorrow. You don't have rights in the Freedom Space Force. No rights for the aliens. This is freedom's no. You have to ascertain first whether the entity or the being that you're dealing with is hostile or friendly. You have to see if it has a mental cognizance that is similar to your own or not. Because some species, they're highly intelligent, but they're also very violent. That's it. They wolves and hunt in packs.
Humans.
So they know pack mentality. They know how to hunt. They're relentless, but that's an animal instinct. Is that what we're dealing with alien life? Is it animal instinct, or is it highly intelligent? And I think we need to ascertain which one it is first before we make a recommended viewing, talking, interacting with. Because if we don't, we might get jingle jangled. And I think it's very important to figure that out. And that's not saying that beasts don't have that intelligence quotient, because aliens might have that. Our dolphins, for instance, highly intelligent. Octopus, octopi, highly intelligent.
Favorite.
So it's like, what do you do if you're incompatible? Leave them alone. Get off the planet, hightail it, and go. Because the one thing that we have not factored in yet is what diseases that they breathe, they live, but we breathe it, we take it in as a disease, we come back, we give it out to everybody else, and it wipes out the planet. And I think these are the kind of things we need to think about. Because, of course, a lot of people would say, well, just conquer. You can't conquer if your physiology is weak to whatever they're breathing, whatever they're seeing. If you look at the sun long enough, you'll go blind. They tell you to look at the sun. So imagine you land on a planet You're looking at all these things on the planet. What if those are ultraviolet rays? This, that, and the third. We need to ascertain what kind of species it is. Are they warlike? If they are warlike, is it something we can put down? Because obviously we're going to have nuclear weapons involved, because that's the logical step for space warfare, right? And people are in the chat are like, this guy's lunatic. A little, but follow me. If they're not, are they peaceful? What kind of peaceful are they? If we land and we give them the high five, are they going to shoot us because the high five to them is something that's derogatory? There's a lot of steps and places that we go, but we should always try to make contact when we can. But if we can say, hey, you know what, if we try to make contact here, it's going to be bad for all of us. Let's not make contact here. Let's keep going until we find a contacted species that we can actually gel with, so that we're not in danger of destroying our whole species, which obviously wouldn't work, because if they would try to bring something back, you could blow up the ship remotely. Not the point of the conversation. But until we're able to ascertain if it's friend or foe, we need to be looking at this more carefully. You know, if I land on a planet and I see Spider, you know, I'm like, oh man, it's my homie. But then all of a sudden he rages up and he's a big giant creature. I'm like, that's probably not my homie. He might be my homie, but it's probably not my homie. You know what I mean? And we have to understand that. And the thing too, I think that also is interesting is if they are in a different dimensional viewpoint, we might view them as monsters, but they might not be monsters. They might be the most calm species ever, but in our viewpoint, they're ugly, they're hideous, they're crazy. So we just go off on killing them. And then they're like, well, okay, we can just wipe your whole planet. There's so many factors to factor in when you're dealing with alien life forms, because they don't have to be us. Could they be us? 100% they could be us. Are they going to be us? Who knows? Or are they looking like us just to snatch our bodies and invade? Because there was a whole movie done about that, but y'all don't pay attention. So when you get your body snatched, don't come crying to me about it.
Now that brings us to another more difficult question, because dealing with space animals is one thing, but dealing with intelligent sentient species with the potential for civilization is something entirely different. And we like to make the assumption that life would evolve on similar pathways as far as civilization is concerned. And they would have rules, they would have laws, they would have this, they would that. Even if they were a warlike race, they would still follow these things that they've set for themselves. But maybe they don't. Maybe they view time as one extension of one moment all the time. And so they don't have days, they don't have hours, they don't have moments. They're just, everything is for them all the time. Maybe they have some other sort of completely different philosophical outlook that is so diametrically opposed to what we think that it's just, there's no way for it to be compatible. Now, it's tempting to assume, oh, well, if a species is completely different on their philosophies and morals, then they're immoral and they're evil, they're bad. But for me, that's the wrong way to look at it, because their path to what made them what they are was so completely different from ours that their good and evil isn't our good and evil. Good and evil on that level isn't necessarily universal. And that's a hard thing for people to take, I think. That's a very difficult philosophical outlook for people to be like, well, good is good and evil is evil, good, right is wrong, and this is bad, right? No, not necessarily. Their minds might be so completely different that they think in other terms. The way that they view that kind of thing, if they view it at all, might be just sideways, if not completely opposite of ours. And so the ethical question here is, if we show up and we witness these things, human nature says that somebody's going to make the call and be like, oh, these are obviously barbaric, evil alien species. We have to wipe them out for the good of the universe. But what if they're not threatening the universe? Because they don't care, or they're just not leaving their planet, or when they do, they They don't mess with other people because maybe they understand that you can't just mess with other people. So, is it right of us to try to go out and impose what we think is a universal constant on another sentient alien species? I don't think it is, but we also are in the survival of the fittest kind of stage as far as things go with space exploration. If you don't survive, then they are, and vice versa. So it's a tough, tricky moral question. Steven, what do you think about it? How do you feel?
If they attack us first, then yes, we can defend ourselves. Otherwise, no, absolutely not. Leave them to do their own thing. Otherwise, we're trying to play God at that point. Intergalactic God.
Rob, same question.
Mm.
Because this is the deep one. This is the tough one for the episode.
If you come for me, you're dead. I don't care if you're and you could wipe the floor with me, but if you come for me and my people and my family and my fellow human beings, it's all out war. But if you're just doing your thing, do your thing. I don't want to go to war with another species. Because we don't know what they could do to us. We don't know what kind of weapons they have. They might just shoot a little small laser that's no bigger than a hair into our planet to the core and blow it all up. I don't want to do that. If I can avoid that, obviously I want to avoid that. But if you come here looking for a problem, we have a problem for you, and we will solve that problem, and we will be making hilarious Instagram videos with your alien corpse. You think I'm kidding?
Nope.
Humanity is ghetto-ish as could be.
Yep.
We are 100% trashy. Like, human beings are trashy people. Because as soon as somebody brings down, somebody is going to be like, what's up, dude? Say, it's your boy. I found an alien. I'm going to punch him 32 times, guys. Leave me a like in the comments and, talk about, how hard you want me to punch this guy. What's your name? Doesn't matter what his name is. He got punched in his face. So you have to apply the way human beings are. Now, if they're not messing with us, and don't tell nobody. Please do not tell the rest of humanity. All right? Do not tell the rest of humanity until such a time that we can either forge an alliance or go to war or whatever, because human beings are jerks, and we will 100% have these alien beings in memes. We will meme them, and it'll be bad, and then they'll want to blow the planet up. So we can't do that. But what we have to do is we have to ascertain, like I said previous and prior, if we don't ascertain if they're well-meaning or not, what are we doing? But like I said, if they're not bothering nobody, leave them alone. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. That's it. Leave them alone.
A little addendum to that before I move on. What if we're out in space? We're hurting for resources. We're doing bad. We need a spot, and we're like, you know what? This planet's going to be perfect coming up. It has everything we need. We got to rebuild some population. We got to set down somewhere. We're never going to make it if we keep looking. We land. There's another species there already, and they're not hostile to us, but they're like, you know what? We're already here. We've already got most of the space. We don't got room for you. You can't stay.
This sounds familiar.
It's happened in more than one sci-fi thing. It's happened more than once. And I'm going to mention a couple things after this, but this is a good question because
great question.
It's a matter of survival for us. Whereas for them, no matter how well-meaning they might be, no matter how hospitable they might be, logically, there's no room for both of us on the planet. And
sorry, they got to go
any farther.
They got to go. They got to go. It sucks, but it's going to come down to us or them regardless. And we can't roll over and play possum. We got to be ready to give our lives if we want space exploration to be a thing. Now, granted, that might cause an interstellar kegger war, or that might not. We might end up wiping them off the planet. Does it suck? Yes, it does. but I gotta ride with my people. That's humanity. So, and it sucks because it's either give up the goods or we're taking the goods. And that sucks because that's how humanity's done so much and committed so many atrocities. But if it's you or me and I'm hungry, oh man, that's tough. That's tough because here's a whole alien species that's been on that planet forever. How long? It is their planet. It's their planet. There's not much we can do. But if we try to overthrow them, I got to side with human beings. I just have to. It's a loyalty thing because, so many of you are I don't know any aliens. I've never met one and been like, you know what? I'm riding with you. Riding with you, buddy. You, Zebulon. I'm riding with you. No, it's going to be human being loyalty off top. And I know probably Steven's like, not me. I'm going to make sure all the humans die, say. But that's what I think. However, if we can resolve it peacefully, we need to try every single solitary avenue before we say, okay, let's start kicking some butt. Every single avenue has to be exhausted. Every single one. Before you think of killing something or taking something out, you need to go by the ladder. The letter. That's it. If you're going to go that route, make sure you've exhausted every single point. Make sure we can't go back out into space and find somewhere else. Exhaust everything before you have to go to an extreme. Because if it was us three and the aliens were like, no, we're not giving you nothing. Okay. We're going to take it. Me, my homie, my other homie, we're taking it. We want to get out of here. We don't want to be here. We don't want to be stuck here. If you let us get out of here, we'll be gone. We'll leave. And I think that would be the way to do it. Say, okay, we need your help. I know things are spread thin. If you help us get off the planet, we'll never come back. This will be your planet. We'll sign a treaty. We'll sign everything we can to. But like I said, you have to exhaust every single option, every single one, before you decide to start taking people to war, because going to war is a whole different animal. So if we have to, we have to, but I don't necessarily think we have to. I think there will always be a way around it. If you're dealing with a species that has similar respects, right, then I think, yeah, you could work something out. But if they're just like, no, you guys are trash, you're nothing. Okay, you've insulted me. Now I have a reason to take you to war. We might get wiped out, but I would rather get wiped out than be stuck on a planet that isn't really my planet in the first place.
Steven, weigh in. What do you think?
Well, first off, I'd like to start with for all the Christians out there. For all the Christians out there.
Hey.
No, trust me. I'm being nice. Jesus said, "He who fears death will never enter the kingdom of heaven." And if it came down to it, personally, just me, my own personal decision, if it was, on another planet and, it came down to amount of food or whatever, and it was either I starve to death or they starve to death, then, maybe I would change my mind at that exact moment. But as of right now, I feel that I would choose to suffer and be the one to starve to death, because that is in my mind, that is the correct and moral and just thing to do. Because, it's going to suck. It's going to be awful for you, but at least you can go out knowing that someone else is alive because of your sacrifice.
I just want you to know that if you and I are both on that same planet, oh no, my friend, I'm going to be like, my boy ain't suffering. We getting that off you right now. My homie's a little bit more calm about it, but I'm not calm at all. I will take out your alien family. But you bring up a good point, and I respect you for this, because I'm not starving. There ain't no way. I'm going to get it by hell or high water, as they say. So no, ain't nope. You listen, I'll work an alien job. What if it was like an alien retail job that you had to work? I'll work it, to help get myself. I will do things to help get myself out of here. And you'll never see me again. Like, we will have that treaty written up. If you see me again on your planet, you can, unless it's a serious reason, get rid of me. But I respect that, because I'm not. Ain't no way. But like I said, we have to exhaust every single option before we just start blasting. So anyway, we just started blasting. We got to exhaust every single peaceful option that we can before we switch into that mind frame.
Now, there's a couple of, as I like to point out, I always like to point out entertainment that people can watch to kind of match what we're talking about. And there's two things that I want to point out that are similar to what we've talked about. One of them is a bit of a reversal of the situation, where instead of us going out there and doing something, somebody else comes here in the scenario, basically, that I just pointed out. And that is District 9.
Yeah,
love that one.
Great movie. That is one of the most underrated movies of all time.
It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
For people who haven't seen it, it's the synopsis is that there's an alien species aboard a ship that by the end of the movie, you still don't know if they built the ship or if they just were on it. They might have been shipped out on it and said, you guys got to get out of here, and we're going to give you a ship to do it, so get out of here. They're basically alien refugees. They're weak, they're sick, they're beaten down. They show up in our sky in this ship, and they can't fight us in the condition they're in. If they had been at full health, maybe they could have. But as far as we know, they can't at the time.
Full health.
And so we give them a place to live that quickly basically turns into a ghetto. It turns into a closed off little like slum area, because we give them the bare minimum that they need, because we see them as second class, because they're pathetic and whatever. And they have violence and crime and different things like that. And then they end up being a lot different than what we thought they were. And the main character in the movie certainly becomes a lot closer than he ever expected to understanding them. And it's a pretty good ending, I think. The whole thing is pretty good. And speaking of that, I have 3 total examples. I have that. Another version of that is equally as interesting is called Monsters. Monsters was the first film by the director of Star Wars Rogue One and the first of the newer Godzilla movies.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
And Monsters details an alien species that doesn't speak to us. They're basically animals, more or less. Yes. They're large, just creatures. They're not sentient particularly, but they land on the planet. They do what animals do. They just try to survive. And we don't know what to do about it. So we try to murder them. We try to knock them off, but they're resistant to certain things. And we end up having to build a wall, which is funny, between the United States and Mexico to keep out the aliens. But they get across the wall because they're huge alien animals and they don't know any borders. They have no concept of borders or anything, and they cause destruction. But it's a great movie. It's fantastic. It's an indie film, basically, but it's very well done. The other thing I want to point out is a book, and I believe it's by an author named David Weber. I think it's him. There's 2 authors, and I don't remember the other guy that writes similar books. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat that the ending of this book sucked. It was an awful ending. It was the stupidest possible way to end a book that you could come up with, and I'm going to tell you about it in a minute. But it details an alien force that arrives basically thinking, oh, yeah, you know what? These humans, we've been watching their history, and they're super violent. They're bad. They're awful. We need to put a stop to them and enslave them for their own good. But their information is from the Dark Ages. That's how far their spy stuff has gone back and forth. That's how slow the communication is. So they show up thinking that we're going to be in the Dark Ages with swords and things.
Oh, no.
They've got laser rifles. And they show up, and we're here in America with AK-47s stuff. And we start beating them really badly.
Why
and
do we
they're
have
kind of
Russian weapons?
Well, for examples. And they're just like, now what do we do? We can't go back yet. It takes too long. We just got here. So they ramp up the pressure and they start really cracking down and using the technology to try wiping us out. We start doing guerrilla cells to fight back.
Yep.
And then at the end, Dracula shows up.
Oh, I remember this. Dracula's
how-
coming tonight. And I said that was okay.
Oh, you
That's
told
not
us
me
about
making anything
this.
up.
Yeah.
That is
That's
exactly
real.
what
Yep.
happens.
I remember you
Vlad the
talking about
Impaler is still alive as a vampire with a coterie of vampires that weren't mentioned anywhere through the rest of a sci-fi
Not
book
at all.
about alien
Not
invasion.
at all.
And
Not
in
at
the
all.
last 2 chapters, we managed to recruit Dracula, and they kill off the aliens for us. So it is the worst.
Dracula's coming tonight. I told him that's okay.
The whole book up to that point is really good,
Right.
but that ending is terrible. But it's still a good scenario for something that could happen, either with us going to another planet, or or people coming here. So with that out of the way, I want to finish up here with a question, which is tying up what we started with at the beginning, because Rob was talking a lot about this once we started. And is space exploration at this point now, is this a moral imperative? Is this manifest destiny? Is this now something that we have to do? And do we have to do it regardless of what could happen otherwise, because it has to be done? And I think that's a tough question, because we are running out of resources here. I mean, there's a lot of debate about how fast and how quickly and and just how much there is here, because there is a lot here. And I don't think we're going to run out of coal tomorrow. I don't think we're going to run out of oil in the next 100 years. I don't think we're going to run out of all the things that we're using as quickly as some people like to say we are.
Agreed.
But we will eventually.
Yes.
Because the rate that we're using it is faster than the planet can produce it. If you assume that the planet produces it rather than there's a finite amount to begin with, we're still outpacing that.
Yeah.
Because we're at 8 billion people on the planet and rising as of last count. We're not slowing down. And so the only other option is to go other places for materials. And is it ethical and moral for us to go out into the universe and start taking things from there if we've mismanaged it all here? It's a big, important thing. I think personally that it is our destiny to get out there. And I think in order to do that, we do have to kind of do a little bit of digging on other planets for as much as we can. I don't think it's avoidable. I think we have to do it. If we're going to leave at all, we have to be a little ruthless about it. And I don't mean that in a way that I don't want to go out and cause harm to the universe. But at the same time, circle of life is that there's a certain amount of harm that happens naturally as life feeds on life. And there's not much you can do about it, unfortunately. You can mitigate it as much as you can, but it's a fact of how the universe operates. There's a certain amount of entropy. There's a certain amount of creation and destruction. Steven, what do you think? Do you think it's a moral imperative? And do you think we're right to go out there and do what we do?
Yes, but not for the reasons you think. I think it's a moral imperative because we're humans, we're naturally curious, and we love science. And that's the whole point of science. But I do also want to point out, as far as the energy thing and the renewable resources, no, I don't think that's why. But if we did go out, it would, I would prefer that we get them from empty planets without creatures already living on them. But as far as, it would be really nice if we just had a clean, renewable source of energy, wouldn't it? But maybe, just maybe, it's really bad that they don't make tinfoil anymore, because I could really use one for a hat right now, because I think that all the billionaires are actually hiding that we have 0 point energy and clean energy and all this stuff, but they're hiding it because they can't make billions and billions of dollars off of clean energy.
Always a possibility. I mean, there's more technology being researched that we don't know about than what we do know about. as far as that kind of thing goes. And that's how science works. Same question, what do you think about the moral imperative about space exploration? I know you touched on it at the beginning of the show, and then here's the rest of it. What do you think?
We have to do what's best for us. It'll always be humanity first for me. Doesn't matter what we have to do to get to it, but we have to do it. And if that means knocking off another species, so be it. Because they're going to knock us off. It's either we, and it might be ruthless. We're over here thinking these aliens might be friendly. No, they might be ruthless. We might have to really show them who humanity is. And a lot of people, I think, especially today, a lot of people are the kumbaya types that want to welcome with open arms. You might have to swing on an alien. You might have to knock an alien flat on its alien keister. And we need to be prepared for that. And if we have to go out, we have to go out. But that is if the universe was a tiny thing. The universe is vast. And we have a lot of potential places for us to investigate. So I don't think it has to be a manifest destiny thing. I think it's about respect. And if we're not going to get our respect, we need to show force off the beginning. If we are out here as a galactic species, because now we're part of a galactic species, we're no longer confined to our planet, it's galactic species. So for me, it's more or less saying, you know what? We have a right to be here too. And if you're not going to let us be here, then we're going to kick in the door and we're going to be here anyway. So you got a choice. You can either welcome us with open arms or we can welcome you with open firearms. And Americans and humanity love to shoot. So, you might obliterate us, but we will still shoot you. We're still going to do what we got to do. So, yeah, I'm all for it, man. And if we have to break a couple eggs to make an omelet, we have to break a couple eggs to make an omelet. We've done horrible things to each other in the name of preservation. We've done horrible things to each other in the name of property. We've done horrible things to each other in the name of history.
Sorry.
So why can't we go out into the universe and do a couple more horrible things? But once again, it's either us or them. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it as the universe is so vast and so big that at some point we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And like I said, if we have to show force, we show force. Now, we could shoot a nuke at one of their ships and they just grab it and disintegrate it, and then we're a bunch of goofs. But hey, we still stood up when we had to, even if it cost us our lives. So yeah, man, we got to go. We got to go. And Signs is another one where the aliens come here. And they end up dying because of getting colds. And that's something we didn't even touch on in this one, is how does that parlay into us exploring planets?
War of the Worlds, Signs. It's
there you go.
Often overlooked. And
yes.
again, it's part of our past that we showed up on different land masses without any knowledge of what polio might do, because we got vaccines for it. We didn't, we carried it, but we didn't fall prey to it.
And not to interrupt you, but look at it on a smaller scale. Look what happened when people came from Europe to here and brought the diseases of Europe that weren't here, right? We might go somewhere and they give us an airborne disease that they don't get. There's no ifs, ands, or reasons why they would get that. We get that because of our physiology. We bring it back. We kill everybody on the planet. And that's something we need to think about. I'm more concerned with that aspect than I am with us going to war with another species. I'm more concerned with us. We got to be careful what we bring back. We might bring back a flower that's beautiful, plant it in the soil, and then it destroys the soil because we don't know what we're dealing with. So I'm more worried about that than I am, anything else.
And that's absolutely true, because there's so many things. Even we might go out and meet an alien species that's basically, again, just a space cow, just dumb, just like basically an alien critter, but it exhales a gas that's toxic to us. Its skin secretes something that if you touch it, it burns through you. It's just something that they do. It's not aggressive. It's not designed to actually harm anyone not on its planet. Maybe everything on its planet is immune to that kind of thing. It's
Yes.
just how its physiology is. But
Or
to
that's
us,
its defense mechanism.
it might not even be that. It might just seem
Right.
like that to us because it kills us. And that's the other
Right.
part of the question. It's that we don't know because we
Yes.
can't. That's how alien life can be.
And then
Um,
let's really ask the question too. We're human beings, and we have certain desires that need fulfilled. What happens when we meet a species that is an alien, kind of looks like us, and then we decide to copulate with it?
mhm.
Then
Destroy
what?
all humans. They come
Then
back
what?
years later for our DNA when their cloning goes out.
No, not even that. Just it's a physical relationship with an alien. Now that takes us into a whole another conversation, but we won't do that here.
Different biologies, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
We've had some good talks. We've had a lot of good discussions, and there's more works of fiction that you can look into if you're interested in different explorations of this kind of thing. If you're looking for another broad outlook of how we might deal with an alien species in an ignorant sort of way, the Ender's Game book is fantastic.
Mm.
The following books got kind of goofy and kind of, off the wall. And the movie wasn't, I only saw parts of the movie and it was okay.
The movie's
But
fantastic. It
the-
goes right from the book. It goes off the book. Very good.
The book was great. And there's other bits of media that you can find that that are very similar, that detail that kind of thing. There's another book that I have that it's called Anathem, and it's details when an alien species shows up in orbit around the planet and they communicate via mathematics, which might be interesting to you two.
I'm out.
But there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of ups and downs and what ifs about space exploration. Despite all of that, I'm all for it. I'm 100%
Yes.
eager to see what's out there. Even if there's nothing, even if the Fermi paradox is correct and there's really nothing out there but us,
That's
You know
highly
what?
illogical.
it is. But even if it's true, because there's always the potential, I'd still like to see what's there. I would like to see new planets. Whether I can see them up close or not probably isn't going to happen. I'm past my time with all of that, I think. But
You
to
passed
see
your time years
the
ago.
photos and video and all that other kind of stuff, I'd love to see it. I've watched rovers land on Mars twice. It was a great feeling.
On
It was
Mars.
really awesome. Hey, it's the closest thing we've got.
Okay.
It's
Get
the
it.
closest thing we've got.
I'm breaking his. I'm kidding.
So do we have an imperative? Maybe, maybe not. But is it inevitable? I believe it is. And next week, let me make sure I got the topic correctly here, because we're going to have Mr. Robert Solomon here regaling you with the topic.
Regaling. Let's go.
And it is going to be on future space technology.
Let's go.
We
Let's
haven't touched-
go.
I've tried to stay close to things that are what we have available now, but Rob's going to get into the fantastic and the awesome and the science fiction and all the great things that we can do. And after that, we're going to start holiday season. It's gonna be a
Holiday season.
And we're going to have 2 episodes of holiday specific things, one for Steven, one for Rob. I had one in there, but because of the week we took off, we had dropped an episode, and I'm not the holiday guy.
Because somebody had to take off and
I'm a
leave
bit
us
of a humbug
hanging.
over here. But after that will be the holiday special, which is just gonna be us goofing and having a good time and inviting guests and all kinds of great stuff. And then we'll be on break till next year. So it's close. We're almost done
It's
with
too
the season.
close. And if you live in Ohio like me and my homie here, this weather sucks. I don't like the cold. I'm not ready for it, bro.
Cold, warm. You never know what it's going to be right now. It's just like this. This is the weather right now.
30, 70, 40.
You're not allowed to
80.
talk. You don't live in Ohio. You stay in Tennessee. You don't say nothing. Not a damn thing, sir. It's Ohio business, young man. No, you're good. Listen, is that it? Because I'm gonna take us out if that's it.
On that note, yeah, let's get out of here. I think we had a great
Man,
time.
listen, we're gonna be on Twitch. We're gonna be on my Twitch. We're gonna be on his Twitch. If Steve wants to load his, he can. That's up to him. We're running Halo 5. Come on over. Twitch. All the good stuff. You know where to find us. We are out. Why be boring when you could be uncanny? I'm not going to steal your radio show because we made ours successful. Have a good night. Cheers.